Well, hello everyone, how are you doing this fine day? Hope you're enjoying your week. You might be noticing that this video is a little bit outside of the theme of the month, but after thinking about it for a little bit, I realized that on average, I make about 16 to 19 videos a month. And I'll be honest with you, I don't want to make 16 fucking horror videos back to back. I'm gonna lose my sanity. I need a little bit more variety than that in my life. Variety's good. Everybody should want more variety. So while I'm definitely gonna be doing more horror videos this month, that's for sure, especially the closer we get to Halloween, you're gonna start seeing a ton. I gotta mix it up a little bit. So for today, we're gonna skew a little bit away from that and talk about Marvel Comics. Yay! Because of course everyone and their mother is on the same page about how the power levels of Marvel Comics work, right? Nobody's gonna have any issues with this, right? Right? But I've wasted enough of your time. Let's get started. So a long time ago in a country called Latveria, there was a bunch of fucking gypsies. And they didn't really have a home. They were just kind of traveling around like nomads and shit. And one of these fucking filthy gypsies was a witch who was making deals with Marvel Satan, like Mephisto. I mean, I know Marvel actually does have a Satan, but like they got like 8 Satans. It's very confusing. But while doing all her witchcraft shit and making a deal with Satan, it didn't work out particularly well, and she was taken into hell. And I feel like the comics wants to feel sorry for her. I don't know why. I mean, she's a fucking gypsy. No, the reason why I don't feel bad for her is because she made a deal with fucking Marvel Satan. Other than the devil went down to Georgia, when has that ever worked out for anybody? There was never any alternative outcome that could have happened. Anyway, this filthy fucking witch gypsy who makes deals with devils left behind a child known as Victor who wasn't a doctor. And his mom getting taken really like fucked him up pretty badly. And it led him to this sort of obsessive personality where he traveled all around the world trying to get as much knowledge as he possibly can to try and get his mother out of hell. Due to all that, he eventually became Dr. Doom and a lot of other stuff happened. Normally this is the part of the video where I have to build up whatever character I'm talking about or whatever fucking challenge I'm talking about, but I kind of have to do this video a little bit differently because I feel like people have it in their head that Dr. Doom and just Latveria as a whole is just so godly, untouchable, and amazing at everything that I sort of need to humble him a bit, you know? Like, Dr. Doom is basically the Batman of Marvel, and I don't mean that he's like anything like Batman. I mean that people's view on him is very similar to the Batman, where everyone just thinks he's the greatest shit that can't be overcome, can't be outsmarted, he's always ahead of the game, with enough prep time he could take out God himself, and this just isn't true. And yes, while Dr. Doom is awesome, that's mostly because of his really baller-ass personality, not because he just overcomes everything that comes his way. He's smart, but he's not the smartest character in Marvel, not even close. And he's actually outsmarted and physically beaten a lot, like more often than he's not. So yeah, this is kind of gonna be a bit odd, but I sort of have to shit on Dr. Doom for a decent portion of this video. Well, we might as well get this fucking shit show started. First off, Doom isn't as smart as people think he is. People seem to have it in their brain that with enough prep time, he can overcome literally any challenge and defeat literally anybody. This is not true, and it's inherently written in his story that it's not true. The main reason, the main feat that he has, that why people believe this, is because he was able to steal the powers of the Beyonder and became God Emperor Doom. This is super impressive because the Beyonder is like one of the strongest people in all of Marvel Comics. The issue I have with this is that this is a claim that is only made by people who haven't actually read the comics, because Doom didn't steal the Beyonder's powers. It is revealed later on in the story that the Beyonder willingly allowed Doom to think he stole his powers, but in reality, he just gave it to him because it was all a part of this Machiavellian plan that the Beyonder had. It's a whole thing. Doom was not actually able to steal his powers. And if he was, it wouldn't even make any fucking sense. Like I said, Doom's whole story, the whole reason why Doom exists is to get his mother out of hell and out of the grasp of Mephisto. Mephisto is nowhere near as powerful as the Beyonder. Let's make that clear right now. And no matter how many times Dr. Doom has tried, he has still not been able to overcome Mephisto. I think it's yearly, it might be longer, it might be shorter, but I believe it's yearly, that Dr. Doom goes down to Mephisto's realm to challenge him in order to win his mother's soul back, and he has never once been able to succeed. If Dr. Doom with prep time was just capable of going in and stealing all of Mephisto's powers and completely fucking throttling him, he would have done it already. He hasn't because he's not actually capable of doing that. And Mephisto's not nearly as strong as people think Mephisto is, because Mephisto's been beaten by Ghost Rider on several occasions. He's been absolutely throttled by a weakened Galactus, and I've talked about how weak Galactus can get. Like, a Galactus who hasn't eaten a lot has been one-shotted by the Thing and beaten in a fist fight by Kitty Pryde, who was tall because of Pym particles. Pym particles don't give you any sort of physical enhancements, by the way. It just makes you tall. So fucking bullshit basic Kitty Pryde beat Galactus in a fucking fist fight. She's just a regular person who's tall now. Oh god, people wank comics so bad. Okay. So to give some examples of how exactly Doom is not nearly as smart as people think he is. For one, it's been just straight up proven he's not as smart as characters within the story have straight up said that there are scientists that are better at certain fields of study than Doom is. But also, he gets outsmarted fucking constantly by characters that would surprise you. Like, for instance, at one point Hulk had to break into Dr. Doom's home, and Dr. Doom knew he was coming, so he prepared for him. When the Hulk came smashing through the wall, Dr. Doom laid a trap, and it basically trapped the Hulk into this, like, fucking sphere thing, and he couldn't do anything. However, a couple seconds later, a second Hulk smashed through a wall on the opposite side of the room and beat the ever-loving shit out of Dr. Doom. It is then revealed that the first Hulk that came through was not actually Hulk, but it was a robot that was created by Bruce Banner to distract Dr. Doom, so that the real Hulk can come through a different side. This is Dr. Doom with prep time and the ability to prepare for Hulk's arrival, and he was still outsmarted by Bruce Banner. Shit like this happens all the time with Doom. There was another instance in the comics where the Intelligentsia, led by the leader, paired up with Doom to do something. I don't remember what it was they were doing. But basically, Dr. Doom had the leader believe that he was joining the Intelligentsia. They went out, did their little thing, whatever, and then Dr. Doom said, you know what? I'm just stealing all the shit that we just did, and you're not getting anything. And the leader was understandably pissed. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you were a part, like, why? No. And Dr. Doom basically made fun of the leader and the entirety of the Intelligentsia, which is a supervillain group made up of the smartest villains in all of Marvel. And he basically said that they're all dumb, and none of them are worthy of his intelligence and all this kind of stuff. So the leader just said, okay, and left, and then later on came back, outsmarted Doom, kidnapped him, tied him up to a machine that sucked all of his intelligence out of his head and gave it to the leader out of spite for Dr. Doom saying that he was smarter than the leader. Dr. Doom throughout the course of Marvel Comics has been outsmarted by Bruce Banner, Tony Stark, the leader, Dr. Octopus, Reed Richards, and countless other genius level intellect characters. It happens all the time, and his prep time, a lot of the time, doesn't fucking work. The thing that makes Dr. Doom so dangerous isn't the fact that he's smarter than everyone around him. It's one, he's very ballsy. That's a very big part of it. But it's also his variety of intelligence. He's one of very few characters that have massive mastery over both science and magic. Most others don't. Like, Tony Stark is better at science than Dr. Doom is. Doctor Strange is better at magic than Dr. Doom is. But neither of them can do both. Very few characters can. The only character that is superior to Dr. Doom in both science and magic is Thanos. And due to this mastery in both of these different fields, it allows him to do things that other people can't do. For instance, he's been the only person that was able to separate the Hulk from Bruce Banner successfully, because everybody else has to use either science or magic, and it requires both in order to successfully do something like that. Next up, we have to talk about Doom's strength, because people have this dude's strength so fucking high for no reason whatsoever. If you go on the Dreaded versus Battle Wiki and you look at the weakest version of Doom, they have him at planetary. The absolute weakest version of Doom can destroy planets. And they have him there because he was able to match the Thing in a fist fight. So many problems with this. Okay, for one, the Thing can't destroy planets. He's literally never done it. He's never even come close to doing it. In fact, in all of Marvel Comics, all of the Earth heroes that are from Earth, there might be 3 or 4 characters that are capable of destroying a planet. That is very rare. For some reason, fucking scalers think that every goddamn superhero can destroy planets. No, they can't. Very few have even been shown to be able to do it, and it's almost always because they're significantly amped. It has been stated multiple times by multiple real-world writers of Marvel and editors that the only version of Hulk that can destroy a planet is World Breaker Hulk. Green Scar can't do it, although, you know, Green Scar turns into World Breaker, but like just Green Scar without World Breaker cannot do it. Al Ewing, the writer of Immortal Hulk storyline where Devil Hulk was, that's like the second strongest Hulk that's ever been out, has directly stated that he cannot destroy a planet. In the entire history of Marvel Comics, Thanos has destroyed 2 planets. One, he was massively amped, and the second one was because he was fighting another person, and both of them together released the force to destroy the planet. Thanos has never done it by himself at base. He's not capable of doing it, and he is physically more powerful than pretty much any Marvel hero. Thor has never and cannot destroy a planet. The closest he ever got was when he was fighting Gore, and he hit Gore multiple times as hard as he possibly could, and the shockwave cracked the planet. It actually cracked multiple planets in the area, but he didn't actually destroy the planet. It took multiple swings in order to do that much damage, and he shattered his fucking arm doing it. So why do people put this motherfucker at multiversal? Well, because he destroyed the Yggdrasil. So why does that make him multiversal? There's no evidence in all of Marvel that the Yggdrasil requires a multiversal level of power to destroy. Nowhere does it say that. Why do you think that? Well, because the Yggdrasil houses an entire multiverse inside of it. No, it doesn't. People think that the 9 realms are inside of the Yggdrasil. Well, for one, in Marvel, there's 10 realms, so if you think that, you're wrong anyway. But even if that was true, the Yggdrasil has been destroyed multiple times, and every time it's destroyed, Midgard's fine. It's not destroyed. Midgard is not housed inside the Yggdrasil. The Yggdrasil is like the connective tissues that basically grasp onto all of the different universes. The Yggdrasil was once destroyed by being lit on fire. They burned it down with like normal bullshit fire. Why are you saying it's multiversal? What evidence do you have that it's any stronger than a normal fucking tree? There is not a single moment in all of Marvel Comics where someone attempts to destroy the Yggdrasil and hits it and it like doesn't get damaged. Not once. It never happens. We have no base durability for the Yggdrasil. And you might want to say something like, well, the fire that burned down the Yggdrasil was Surtur's fire, and Surtur's fire is like this multiversal. Okay, prove it. How is it multiversal level fire? Where does it say how hot the fire is? We know he has access to the eternal fire, but the eternal fire is just stated to be fire that can't be put out. It's at no point stated to be hotter than regular fire. The only statement we have for the heat of Surtur's fire is it's said that when he is at his hottest, he can actually increase the temperature of the atmosphere of Earth. Okay, cool. But the sun does that too. And the sun isn't multiversal levels of fire. So what's your point? It's fucking crazy how much people reach for this shit. Like, Marvel is not all that powerful. It's just not. It has moments of insane levels of power based on particular events that happen in the story that increase power levels of characters. That's true. But just like normally? No. It's really not all that. I mean, shit, people talk about Odin being multiversal. Odin was beaten in a fight by Lady Thor. Then Lady Thor and Thor double-teamed Devil Hulk and had the shit kicked out of them. Devil Hulk has been stated by the writer to not be planetary. He's never been able to destroy a planet. What is the deal? Where are y'all getting this stuff? So to get back to Doctor Doom, is he planetary? No. Not even fucking close. Doesn't even come around the same realm as planetary. You know what the crazy thing is? They have Doctor Doom as planetary, right? But then they have Dracula at like considerably less. He's like at fucking like country or some shit. I forgot. But he's nowhere near planetary. Despite the fact that Doctor Doom is actually terrified of Dracula. So in Marvel Comics, Latveria borders Transylvania. Dracula is in charge of Transylvania, and Doctor Doom is in charge of Latveria. They don't get along, and their countries war a lot. Doctor Doom is not as powerful as Dracula, and he has embedded crucifixes inside of his armor, just all over it, to protect himself from Dracula, because if he ever fought Dracula, Dracula would beat his ass. So he needs that as sort of protection against him. This is an ongoing issue that Doctor Doom has in the comics with Dracula. So if you have the weakest version of Doctor Doom at planetary, you would also have to have Dracula at planetary. Dracula is often defeated by Blade. Is Blade also planetary? No. No, he's not. I mean, come on, guys. He's a fucking Fantastic Four villain. Like, seriously. During World War Hulk came down and literally every single hero on Earth combined couldn't stop him. This includes the Fantastic Four, the intelligence of Reed Richards, all this shit. None of them could overcome him. And that was the first ever version of Hulk that was stated to be able to destroy a planet. The World Breaker Hulk. That was the first one. Before that, he couldn't do it without amps. So, like, fuck are we even talking about? So now that we have officially humbled Doctor Doom, what can he actually do? Well, he can do a lot. Like, just because he's not capable of destroying planets or wiping countries off the map doesn't mean that he's not a fucking powerful dude. He has all manner of magic and technology and relics and things that give him all sorts of crazy powers. In terms of just him without any magic or science at all, he has one of the highest wills in all of Marvel Comics. He's basically immune to any form of mind control or will manipulation, or even soul manipulation. He himself, using different forms of magic and technology, is capable of manipulating matter, stealing souls, petrifying people, transmogging them into other forms, manipulating their mind and their body and their spirits. He can create force fields, and he can control and absorb different forms of energy. He can control magnetism. He can control elements. He's got teleportation. He can time travel, although admittedly not on his person. Like, he can't just do it willy-nilly. He actually has to go to this big machine thing he built and do it. His armor is badass as fuck. It's made of like a bunch of these little microcomputers, and if he sees someone do a particular thing, it will actually inject that information into his head. And unlike someone like Taskmaster, who can do it with fighting abilities, he can actually do it with like magic. Basically, if he sees anyone at any point do something magical, the suit will copy that ability and educate him on how to do it. It can also adapt to certain types of damage. Like, there's been times when people have hit him with certain attacks that hurt him, and then they hit him again like just a couple minutes later, and all of a sudden it has absolutely no effect because his suit took in the information and then adapted itself to getting over that type of damage. This doesn't work on everything. He hasn't been shown to be able to adapt to, say, getting punched in the fucking face, but certain types of damage it has worked on. And I could just keep going on and on and on. The dude has like hundreds of fucking powers. And that doesn't even include Latveria itself. Latveria is a very small country. It doesn't have a lot of people in it. And despite that, just with his intelligence and his technology that he's given the country, he's been able to turn it into a world superpower. The country of Latveria only has an army of 2,000 people. That's it. They don't even have a navy because it's a landlocked country. And despite that, that army is enough to wage wars on other countries because of the sheer level of technology that they've given them. He gives the soldiers of the Latvian military these extremely advanced, basically mech suits, as well as having built units called the Doom Bots, of which he has 500 of them, and they're also extremely powerful. Can do all, they basically, his army can basically wipe out any basic land army, essentially, because in the Marvel Universe, again, people like to wank it, but the militaries of the Marvel Universe isn't really all that much more advanced than our real world military. They are more advanced, don't get me wrong, but they're not like insane. And if you have something like a Doom Bot that's fucking bulletproof and has like cannons and shit attached to it that just waste away whole buildings, that's generally enough to take out most soldiers. He's got something called the Daggers of Doom, or the 7 Daggers of Doom, the 7 Doom Daggers. Something like that, I don't remember the name. It's not actually 7, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But basically, he takes a bunch of mutants that exist within Latveria who are super fucking loyal to him, and he basically made them their own unit inside of Latveria where they will go to war for him and do shit that he needs them to do. And, you know, I mean, they're fucking mutants. He's like his own personal X-Men, basically. And then on top of all of that, he has all the same shit that every other army would have, like tanks and aircrafts and things like this. But just like way more advanced, like sci-fi level shit that could basically take on whole other countries by themselves. Overall, Latveria is very well off, and despite being such a small country, it's damn near impossible for any other country to successfully invade and take it over. In the Marvel Universe, it is considered a world power up there with something like the United States or Russia. But you can walk across the whole country in like an afternoon. Pretty fucking impressive considering. But despite all that, can Latveria defend itself when these other universe forces, I guess, dictators, tyrants, whatever you want to call it, decide to invade and take it over? Well, let's fucking find out. First up on the chopping block, we have Ozai from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And like, character-wise, there isn't a whole lot to talk about with this character because there isn't really much to him. Like, in terms of the villains of the series of Avatar: The Last Airbender, he's the worst one. He's just a guy who was born with a bunch of power, became ruler after his older brother just straight up didn't want it, and then he just continued doing what his father and his grandfather was doing, which was just going to war with the world because he wants more shit. He's just not very interesting and kind of a letdown after the show builds him up for 2 whole seasons to then introduce this basic bitch asshole. So what exactly can Ozai and the Fire Nation do? So just for the sake of argument, I'm going to have Ozai and them invade during the eclipse, because the only time we ever see Ozai fight is during the eclipse. We don't know how powerful he is when he's not fighting during an eclipse. So just to avoid making up a bunch of fucking fan fiction, I'm just gonna take what we see and be like, okay, yeah, that's when they're invading. And basically, this should be pretty quick. They all have like fire powers. The entire military within the Fire Nation are just a bunch of master martial artists who can shoot fire from their hands when they punch and kick people. They have things like tanks and giant drills to bore through defenses and big ass balloons, but it really all comes down to them shooting fucking fire at things. If they're not shooting fire at things, they're flinging rocks that they light on fire at things. It's all fire related. So how is this army of fire flingers gonna do against Latveria? They're gonna do fucking terribly. Are you kidding me? So even if we completely disregard the fact that the entire invasion force of Ba Sing Se in the Avatar universe was completely halted by 3 children, and that it took over 100 years for the Fire Nation to be able to take over Ba Sing Se because, and listen to this, they got a wall. That's it. They got a really big fucking wall, and that just completely stopped anyone in the Fire Nation from getting into the city. That's fucking crazy. Like, bro, even if you didn't have the ability to fly, I still don't understand why a wall would stop you. Like, they had all of these ridiculous over-the-top ways of trying to get through it, like the giant fucking drill that I already talked about. But, you know, Ozai's not a good dude. So there's other options. Like, for instance, we see in the series that Ozai has taken over tons of other villages and shit throughout Earth Kingdom. Ba Sing Se was just the capital. So here's my question. Why didn't, when they took over some of them small towns, just basically kidnap a bunch of earthbending children and then indoctrinate them into a Fire Nation and then train them for the sole purpose of breaking through the wall? Because technically the only reason why they didn't get into Ba Sing Se is because they don't have any earthbenders. If they had earthbenders, they'd be able to break through the wall. I mean, the wall's just rock. There's no reason why they can't. We see characters like Toph digging through literally miles of rock without any issues. So why wouldn't they be able to dig through this wall that's like, I don't know how thick this wall is. What, 30, 40 feet? And this isn't even just Ozai. I mean, it took them 100 fucking years and they couldn't figure out how to get through this wall. Like, kidnapping children and training them to get through the wall wouldn't even take that long, because we see in the Avatar universe that there are really powerful benders who are like 12 years old. You can't seriously tell me that these evil sons of bitch never once thought about using child soldiers. Really? I mean, fuck, technically Zuko's a child soldier. What's the problem? Basically, what I'm getting to is Ozai and the Fire Nation are fucking morons. Honestly, if it took them 100 years to get into Ba Sing Se, I don't see them getting into Latveria. Like, Latveria has anti-air assault weapons. They have borders that people struggle to get to. Like, Dr. Doom can literally just make a huge fucking force field around the whole country, and that's it. Ozai can't get in. And honestly, even if Ozai did get in, the only real issue that Dr. Doom would have is the fact that Ozai has way more people. We don't actually know how many soldiers exist within the Fire Nation, but we do know that the Fire Nation is kind of based on China. So if we go by like China numbers, they got like 1 million people. Okay, fine. But if those 1 million people can't take out a single mech suit, then it doesn't fucking matter. There isn't a single firebender in all of Avatar that's shown being capable of melting metal. None. Not even the most skilled and the characters with the hottest fire, like Azula. Hers is the only one that we see that's blue, which is a hotter fire than the usual orange-red that we see the other firebenders using. None of that shit can burn through metal. Doom only needs to send out, like, I don't know, 100 fucking tanks or dudes in mech suits covered in metal to go out there, and none of Ozai's forces can actually harm them, like, at all. That's actually a plot point in the show, that when the Fire Nation introduces tanks to the fight, everyone has serious trouble dealing with them. They have to, like, throw them off the side of cliffs and shit because they can't actually damage the tank. And these are super, super basic bitch tanks. So I just don't see any way that Ozai could possibly take over Latveria. Again, let me repeat. Their entire invasion fleet was defeated by 3 children. Why do people not ever mention this? The Fire Nation is trash. Next up, we have Kaido from One Piece. And before I get started, kind of like Dr. Doom, I need to disperse some myths about the One Piece universe. I know a lot of people like to say that it's a planetary universe. They can destroy solar systems, and the planet of One Piece is like the size of a solar system, and they say that you can destroy a planet, so destroying that would be the same as destroying a solar. No, it's not. Stop it. Stop it. Stop. This is so dumb. The most we've ever seen a character, any character across the whole thing do is like destroy a mountain, basically. Like, that's maximum. Yes, it's true that Sengoku said that Whitebeard can destroy the world, but, like, why are you taking that so goddamn literally? It would make sense that Whitebeard can destroy the world. His power is to create earthquakes. If he created enough earthquakes over a wide enough area across the world, yeah, he could eventually destroy the surface of the world with his earthquakes. Sure, that's not proof that he can destroy the planet. And even if he could destroy the planet, how the fuck would Sengoku know that? All of the One Piece universe takes place on one planet. As far as we're aware, there isn't a second one that was destroyed at any point. How would Sengoku know that this power had the ability to destroy an entire planet? He's never seen it. This is one of those things that I'm chalking up to just flowery language that sounds cool but isn't actually realistic at all in terms of how the power works. I mean, fuck, an incredibly angered Whitebeard, as hard as he can, punched the top of Akanu's head, smashing him into the ground, and he split the island in half. Super impressive. Didn't destroy the fucking planet, though. The attack literally hit the planet, so you can't even say that it's like, you know. So as of right now, I'm putting the top tiers in One Piece at, like, they can destroy mountains. But I don't see any evidence that you could put it any higher than that. And Kaido's army is admittedly one of the most powerful armies in the One Piece universe. He has some of the greatest and most powerful characters within it, and many of which are strong enough to be some of the strongest heroes in the Marvel universe if they existed in Marvel. So how would the Kaido pirates do if they tried to invade Latveria? Well, they're gonna have some serious issues right out the gate. For one, you know how I said Latveria is landlocked and they don't have a navy? Well, Kaido is a pirate group, and all of the countries that they take over are always islands. They don't have any land units, which means that their army actually isn't an army, it's just a navy. So if they wanted to invade somewhere like Latveria, they would have to sail their navy up to the coast of whatever continent Latveria is on, and then travel on foot across multiple countries to get to where Latveria is. This would mean that Kaido's army would be absolutely fucking exhausted by the time it actually got to Latveria. Now, this won't be the case for the strongest characters, because One Piece endurance is fucking insane. There are characters in that series that can literally fight for weeks without break. So the top tiers aren't gonna care to walk across countries, that's fine. But all of the normal leveled soldiers who are just like regular people, they're gonna be completely fucking exhausted. But I don't think that's gonna matter too much, because the actual outcome of this invasion is not going to be based on the fucking ground units. It's gonna be based on Kaido and, you know, his higher up people like King and Queen. And in terms of them, how well are they going to be able to do against Latveria? Well, at first, like I said, Doom is probably going to put a force field over the entire country, but that force field will be limited in durability, so it's only a matter of time before someone as powerful as Kaido is able to break through it. And then once that happens, it's basically going to be Kaido and his top guys who aren't fucking exhausted from trucking through the goddamn continent versus 2,000 dudes in mech suits, 500 Doom bots, a bunch of fucking tanks, artillery, and flying drones just dropping bombs on top of their head. So will they actually be able to take on this army? Nope, they're gonna take it on pretty easily. One Piece characters are really fucking powerful. Like I said, not only do they have insane levels of durability, which makes it so they can actually take on armies without really going down, but they also have shit like Conquerors hockey that allow them to knock out whole armies who are not worthy of fighting them. They have attacks that can shatter through mountains. They have really fucking weird, odd abilities that are very difficult to deal with. They have hockey which they can cover in their body to make them basically this like spectral armor that's very difficult to get through. And overall, there just isn't all that much evidence that a bunch of dudes in mech suits would be able to do all that much damage against somebody like Kaido or Queen or King. And I think Dr. Newman's gonna realize very, very quickly that he's not going to be able to win this if he just sits in his palace and allows all of his dudes to fight for him. He's gonna have to come out and do something. The only question then becomes like, what is he gonna do? And this is where One Piece is gonna run into its second problem. Dr. Doom has so many different fucking powers and abilities that he can use on One Piece characters that they don't have any sort of resistance to, that it's basically impossible that they will be able to take out Doom. For instance, at one point when Dr. Doom was fighting Vision, he altered Vision's molecular structure to take away his power of flight. That's something that Dr. Doom can do. Now, I'm not going to say that Dr. Doom can do that on someone like Kaido, because their powers come from devil fruits and we don't understand how devil fruits work. If a devil fruit is a power based on a molecular structure, then that would be a thing you could do, but we don't know that. Like, is it a soul thing? Is it a magic thing? Is it like genetics? Like, we don't understand what devil fruits are. And until we do, we won't know what'll work on them or what wouldn't. I'll tell you this though, just because we don't know how devil fruits work doesn't mean Dr. Doom wouldn't. Because Dr. Doom actually has scanning abilities where he can scan his enemy and read every part of their body, and he may actually be able to figure out where their power comes from. And once he figures that out, he may actually be able to create something that can strip them of their devil fruit abilities. Now, even if he does that, it wouldn't take away their physical power, because One Piece characters' strengths are not necessarily tied to devil fruits. Like, you could just be a normal dude and punch through a fucking mountain like Garp. It's fucking crazy how powerful characters are. But then you have other things that Dr. Doom can do, like open up portals to other dimensions and then just banish you into the fucking netherworld or some shit. He can rip your soul out of your body. He can transmog you from one form to another form. Like, what if he felt like, you know, turning Kaido into a fucking cat or something? There's no evidence that Haki can defend against something like that. This invasion really boils down pretty simply. If Kaido and his army can break through the force field fast enough and get to Doom and defeat him before he can figure out a way to defeat them, then they're good. The problem is I don't think they can, because I don't think that they're strong enough to instantly obliterate his fucking force field that can defend against like massive military artillery from other countries. There's been a lot of characters who have tried to break into the country who haven't been able to do it. characters that are just as powerful as fucking Kaido. So while I see them breaking through, I don't see them doing it quickly, and while they're trying to do it, Dr. Doom is just learning all sorts of information about how to beat them. Like I said before, while Dr. Doom was outsmarted by Bruce Banner, and the Hulk was able to beat the living shit out of him, if the Hulk had just come in a straight line to attack him, he was prepared for the Hulk to get there and would have won if Bruce Banner took the obvious route. He didn't, and Dr. Doom was overcome. However, Kaido will probably take the obvious route. Kaido's not really that bright. He is a warrior's man. He is very much so, let's fight face to face, no tricks, no fucking outsmarting, we're just gonna fucking do this shit. And if he goes with that mindset, which is really the only mindset that he has, Dr. Doom is going to plan accordingly for his arrival, and if it takes long enough for him to get through that force field, which we've already established it would, he'll be able to sort of read his personality, his powers, and his abilities, and prepare accordingly. So how far will Kaido's invasion get? It'll get through the shield, it'll get through the army, but it'll take way too much time, and eventually Dr. Doom's gonna take him out. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Next up we have Aku from Samurai Jack, and I was really sort of not sure whether or not to put this character last or here, because it's sort of up in the air whether or not Dr. Doom can actually beat Aku. So Aku is a fucking demon of unknown origins that lands on Earth, and just to shit on Versus Battle Wiki for a second, they like to say that he's like country or continent level or something. It doesn't matter. Whatever they say, it's wrong. And the reason why they rank him there is because he crash landed on Earth and basically survived his own crash landing, and that crash didn't kill him. So the fact that he survived it and he wasn't damaged, that means he should have the durability of whatever amount of force that caused when he landed. This is stupid because, like, the main thing about Aku is that he is immune to any form of damage. Like, there's only one thing in the entire series that can harm him, and that is Jack's sword. That's the whole fucking thing. That's the whole show is about. So the fact that he wasn't hurt when he crash landed on Earth, of course he wasn't. Like, that's a part of his fucking power. He's not gonna be hurt if you do anything to him. He's immune to damage. When it comes to durability for Aku, it's completely irrelevant, because everything, regardless of how physically powerful it is, does 0 damage unless it is specifically designed to hurt Aku, in which case it does damage. So you have two options. You either damage him or you don't damage him. There is no fucking, like, tiering there. Force is not a relevant factor. And this is where I'm not really sure, can Dr. Doom actually damage Aku? Well, let's get into it. So, first off, how will the actual invasion go? It's gonna go really fucking well at first, because that force field that covers all of Latveria, it's not relevant. Aku is capable of opening up portals to travel anywhere he wants in the entire universe casually. So if he wants to, he can open up portals inside of Latveria and just have his entire army flood the whole country without any resistance whatsoever. And then Aku can drop in, start fucking up shit all he wants, and there's nothing that Doom's army has that can stop Aku himself. Now, I think it's arguable that Doom's army can take on Aku's army, because Aku's army is basically just a bunch of robots, cyborgs, and aliens. And those robots that he has are arguably weaker than the Doom bots and the military that exists within Latveria. So while Aku's forces are going to outnumber Latveria's forces, I don't necessarily think they're going to be stronger. So I actually think that's going to be a pretty decent fight. It's basically going to be numbers versus strength. So the real question of whether or not they're going to win is if Doom can actually take on Aku. And this is kind of difficult. So Doom does have things that allow him to fight against supernatural forces. Like I said, his entire armor is built with crucifixes so he can defend against vampires and specifically Dracula. And he has other magical abilities and artifacts that fight against things like demons. Like, for instance, he has things that he hopes will allow him to fight against Mephisto and one day get his mother back. Like, fighting against demons is something that is always on his mind. However, I don't know if that would necessarily work on Aku. In the Samurai Jack universe, there does exist magic, and that magic doesn't work on Aku. The only thing that works is Jack's sword, because Jack's sword was created by 3 separate gods coming together to create a weapon that specifically was meant to fight against Aku. So if Dr. Doom isn't aware of Aku before this meeting and hasn't prepared anything ahead of time in order to fight him, will all of his just basic bitch holy relics and shit that he has be able to fight Aku? At no point is Aku ever shown being damaged by a holy relic. Samurai Jack's sword is not holy in any way, it's just magical and meant to kill Aku. So if Aku is capable of invading Latveria without giving Doom any time to actually prepare for his arrival, will he be able to prepare something that could fight against Aku? I'm not 100% sure he can. I don't think any of the stuff that he already has is going to do a whole lot to Aku, because Aku is not weak to the same shit that demons in the Marvel Universe are weak to. And outside of specific things that are designed to kill Aku, any normal hacks or ability he's shown to be basically immune to. Aku can't be affected by things like soul manipulation. Molecular manipulation is going to affect him because he's basically just like this shadow being. Even time manipulation isn't going to do all that much because Aku can also travel through time. Aku can basically do anything that Dr. Doom can do for the most part, and he can do it without having to use all the sciencey shit that Dr. Doom has to use. So I'll say this. I think that if Dr. Doom was given enough time to prepare for Aku, he may be able to create something that can overcome him. But if Aku just straight up invades, and you're talking about him having hours at most before Aku gets into the palace and just starts slaughtering him and everybody else, I don't know if that's enough time to actually properly prepare, especially considering that he doesn't know what Aku is made out of, what Aku's weaknesses are. He doesn't know anything about this motherfucker. The issue here is I don't think Dr. Doom has enough time. I mean, we have, 5 seasons of fucking Samurai Jack that's just filled with things that can't kill Aku? It's literally just the sword. So I'm gonna say 65-35. Aku beats Dr. Doom. But it's possible that Dr. Doom may have something in his arsenal across all of comics, something that is specifically designed that he may actually be able to use against Aku. I'm just not 100% sure what will work or not. I'm gonna leave that up to you guys. Can y'all think of anything in Marvel Comics that Dr. Doom ever uses that you think might actually work against Aku, who is basically shown being immune to pretty much everything, including magic? So yeah, for now I'm saying Latveria falls, but it's up in the air. Last up, but certainly not least, we have Kazuya Mishima from the Tekken series. And I'm not even gonna lie to you, this is an unfair invasion. This is very one-sided. I shouldn't even use this character, but I wanted to. So what exactly is Latveria going to have to defend against? Well, Kazuya is in charge of G Corporation, and G Corporation is so powerful they can go to war with the entire planet, including the UN, and win with ease. They don't stand a chance against it. Not only does G Corporation have an entire trained military, but they have these things called jackbots, and if you haven't played Tekken, you don't know what jackbots are. They're some bullshit. So at one point in the games, I forgot which one it was like Jack 4 or 5 or 6 or some shit. There's a scene where a meteor is coming to Earth, and one of the jackbots sees the meteors, flies into space, and completely destroys the fucking meteor. I mean, you could see the size of the meteor right here. It's big. It's an impressive feat for sure. I think people have calculated this at like continental or country or some shit. Doesn't matter. It's big. Every single game, there's a new Jack model, and every Jack model is stronger than the previous Jack model. This is what a very old model of Jack was capable of, and Kazuya, in his base form, without his Devil Kazuya or True Devil Kazuya forms, is capable of one-shotting and taking on a small army of Jack robots by himself. Now in the Tekken series, we're up to Jack 8. Several upgrades have passed since the Jack destroyed this fucking meteor. This doesn't include a lot of the other skills that Jack has, like for instance, the fact that he's capable of reading a character's moves, and then not copying their moves, but basically using the information that they gather in order to predict what its opponent will do next, and then overcome its opponent. This is shown to be very successful, by the way. And I should say, Kazuya and G Corporation have literally thousands of these motherfuckers. They have a whole fucking army. These things are made on an assembly line. Any one of these jackbots can be thrown into the Marvel Universe and be a seriously successful villain or hero. A jackbot could take on Savage Hulk and do fairly well. And Kazuya has a whole army of these motherfuckers. If Kazuya invaded Latveria, that force field and all those fucking defenses aren't gonna do shit. They're getting through there so goddamn fast. And once they do get through, there's nothing that exists within Latveria that can fight against them. One jackbot will likely take on the entire army of Latveria by itself. If it does get taken out, it's gonna be because it I don't know, ran out of batteries or something. So then it's really all gonna boil down to Dr. Doom and whether or not Doom can overcome these bots and eventually overcome Kazuya. And yeah, I think it's possible that he can. I mean, there's nothing in the Jack robots that make them any different than any other kind of robot, so it's possible that Dr. Doom can work on something, or even already has something, that would say maybe be like a countrywide EMP to shut down all the Jack robots, or possibly hack into the Jack robots and control them and make them fight against Kazuya. Something like that is possible. In fact, I really like that hacking idea. I'm gonna say that that's probably what's gonna happen, because Dr. Doom has some of the best hacking abilities in all of Marvel Universe, and we've never really seen a Jack robot fight against hacking. So yeah, I think that's probably what's gonna happen. Problem is that even if he does that, Kazuya by himself can take on all the Jack robots. So they'll get through the force field very, very easily. They'll start slaughtering through all of Dr. Doom's fucking people. Dr. Doom, given a little bit of time, will be able to hack into the machines. I think by that point, his army's basically going to be wiped out, but fine. Then when he turns on Kazuya, Kazuya is going to easily one-shot the entire fucking army. Like at one point in the series, Kazuya shot this giant fucking blast trying to blow up an entire island, and Jin deflected it and it hit the water and blew up in the water instead, but it was made very clear that this blast would have blown up the entire island that they were fighting on and killed literally thousands and thousands of people. So I don't see why he wouldn't do the same thing here, but just do it to the entire country of Latveria and destroy all his jackbots and the whole army and everything else. So then it's going to come down to who can beat who. Can Dr. Doom beat Kazuya? And the answer to that question is a very simple no. Now, don't get me wrong, we've seen Dr. Doom do a lot of crazy shit, but we've also seen time and time again that if someone comes at him fast enough and hard enough, there's not a whole lot he can do. I mean, he's got his force field and shit, but once you get past that, which physically superior characters have been able to do in the past, he's kind of fucked. I mean, a lot of his strength revolves around already knowing the weaknesses of the opponents that he fights, and then coming up with technologies and magic that are specifically designed to fight against that particular person. If he doesn't know Kazuya, and Kazuya is significantly stronger than he is, I don't really see a whole lot that Doom can actually do. I mean, we've seen characters like the Thing be able to beat the living shit out of Doom when he's not prepared. And Kazuya makes Thing look like a fucking bitch. Not only have we seen that Kazuya defends against a lot of stuff that Doom does, like mind manipulation and soul manipulation, but as we've seen over the course of the Tekken series, Kazuya is capable of absorbing mystical energies. He was capable of absorbing all of the power of Azazel. He tried to absorb the soul of Jin when that had the devil gene in it, and he tried to absorb Jin's angel form. What's to say that if Kazuya and Dr. Doom came face to face into a fight, that any magical attack that Doom tried to use on Kazuya, he would just absorb it and become even more powerful than he already is. This would essentially cut Doom's options in half, as the only thing he would be able to use against Kazuya is science-based shit. And honestly, that stuff just isn't as impressive as the magic shit. When it comes right down to it, Kazuya just completely outmatches Dr. Doom. Honestly, what I think is most likely to happen is that the moment that Doom sees Kazuya show up looking like his true devil self, Doom will automatically assume that he's a demon from the Marvel multiverse, therefore use his knowledge of fighting demons against Kazuya, and then very quickly realize that shit's not going to work because Kazuya's not that kind of demon, and he doesn't have the same weaknesses that demons in the Marvel Universe have. And really, that's all the time Kazuya's going to need to have to absorb all of his fucking magic and then beat the living shit out of him. I have a sneaking suspicion that people are not going to like this video because people really like Doom and they really think that Marvel is way more powerful than it really is. But you know what? We got a stream coming up this Saturday that is completely open to the public. If you feel like Marvel is more powerful than I'm saying it is, by all means, get some fucking panels together and come fucking find me and we can talk about it. But you're gonna have to show me panels of Dr. Doom just completely fucking laying waste to whole countries without any amps whatsoever. And you're not gonna be able to find it because he's never fucking done it. He's just not up to that level. Jesus Christ, did I make a whole fucking survival challenge just so I could shit on Marvel and scalers? Yeah, I think I did. But that's going to be all for me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and enjoy the membership. Remember, if you join the membership, you get videos early. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?